Hello everybody, welcome back to the Artisan of Glimmith. Last time we had a refreshed and renewed perspective on our puzzles here, and we actually made reasonable progress. We now have a silver starred or silver framed Bricky, and so now we can just carry on with some of these because we were slowly getting it into my brain how these mechanics work, which is good because, you know, there's a bunch more of these. Bricky size separation area number. Well, there's a 1 right there. And there's a 1 right there. So we can have regions that are not of symbols. They don't have to uniquely have symbols in them, which is good. Also, we can have areas with bends, which is also good. So where's my next bit of logic is my question. Obviously, we can't do this. But does that mean I could do this, or this, or this? All of them seem to be valid. So where's my limitations on what I can and cannot do? Shouldn't be too bad. It's only a difficulty 2 puzzle. But I can't see kind of my ins for the next bit of logic here. Okay, well, size separation is going to be important, isn't it? Let's actually pay attention to the rules. So this can't come to here because we can't have two 2s touching each other. There you go. There's the thing I hadn't really internalized. So that's going to go there. That can't go there because of this. So that's going to go there. That's going to go there. Those are all 2s. Which means this can't go here, can't go there because it blocks that in, so that's that. That's going to have to go to there. No. That can go to there, that's fine. Then we're going to have 3 and 1. 1 and 3. No. Nope, 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 nope. Right, let me... Let me challenge my assumptions here. This can go that way. This can't go that way or that way, so that has to go up. That's for certain. That can't go that way. That's for certain. That can't go that way. It can't go that way without trapping that. That's for certain. This can go that way, which probably it needs to rather than this way. But it can't go that way, so that gets a line. Let's start with that all being true. This is coming out. This can't be 2. So, therefore, this has to be 3 and 1. That has to break this from being a cross. That can't be 2 next to that 2. So, that has to come over. That has to be a 2. This can be bigger than 3, and it's going to have to be. That can't be a 1, so that's got to come down. That's going to come all the way to there. That's going to go to there. That's a 2. That has to exist in this fashion. So that can join up with that. And that becomes a 3. Lovely. Absolutely freaking lovely. Where's like the big finale puzzle? There's a 5 there. Maybe that's the hardest it gets around these parts. Oh, there's a 6 there. There you go. That'll do it. What about you down there? I'm not doing those. My brain can't. So it's not gonna. Bricky and Precision 3. But not blocky. So all of this is true. After that, then what? It's a great question. This must be absorbed by one of these. This is going that way or that way. If this comes over, that has to go up. If this goes over, that can't go left, but none of that helps me on specifics of where I can and cannot put something right now. This can't exist, obviously. This can't exist. Okay, that helps. So that means this can't go that way. Which means this must go that way. That's good. So this is either going that way or that way. This can't exist. So we can't do this. Could do that, but that doesn't work in a definite for us. That's still got speculation within it. Does this have to exist this way? Because this tile has to be part of a shape. Can't be that one because it leaves us solo. Yeah, I think that has to exist like that. There's no other way that this tile can be attached to something. Which means that can't exist, which means that's coming down and across because that can't exist as well. Which means those must exist together because that can't make a cross, which means that's coming across. It means that can't go that way. That's gaining this. That's got to be 3. This has to come out across. The rest probably solves itself reasonably simply. We've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 7. So 6, 5, 4, 3, and then a 3 left over. Well, that can't be a line. So that's coming down, that's going across. That's going up. Nice. Good. Big fan of that. Bricky, range 3 to 4, area numbers. Okay. Start with those. Why don't we? So, this can't exist, which means that has to exist there. This can't exist, which means that has to exist there. With range 3 or 4, how are we going to colour in the bottom? And also this. We need to take 2 extra here and 1 extra there, which is 3 extra, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that means that we have to combine these into these shapes. This can't do that, which is interesting for sure. So this 3 has to pick up one of those and one of those, I think, because it can't do this. Although that 4 could pick up there. Could be that. This is what I was, as we were discussing this and this not being able to exist like that, I was kind of internalizing the thought process that that might be a 3 on its own. But I hadn't gotten to a logical definite about that yet. Obviously, this can't take both sides of that line. This 3 can't take this or this, because then that exists. So this 3 is taking either this or this, which means that line exists and that line exists. This can't be a 1, so that must join up with the 4. The 4 can't take this because that becomes a 2. And so that is a 3 on the bottom, but we've now defined it with actual logic. I don't know why that one was coloured in. That can't do that. That can't be alone, so that takes that. I think all of this is correct. And I'm happy about it. This must come up because it has to be a range of at least 3 or 4. Then what? Well, this can't make a cross. It's interesting that if I hover over this, and it is like clickable, but that must exist like that. Now, that could all be one color, but there's nothing saying that it has to be. We have a similar kind of thing up here where the 4 and the 3 are going to have to meld some kind of border, or this will be a 3 up there on its own. Okay, this 4 has to take that because this line can't exist. Can't do this. Has to be a range of 3 or 4. If we can't do this, then that can do at best this, but that leaves a 2, which means that isn't that. Which means that is going to be this and this. Excuse you. Oh, I was on Z, not Shift. That explains a lot. So I think those have to go that way. Now, where do we get to? Well, this 4 has to take that because... this 4 has to take that because that line can't exist. It could take the straight line, I think. But it could also be this. So this is left ambiguous for a moment. Goose has come to say hello. Hello, Goose. Smashing my arm around holding the mouse. He demands scritches. I just wish he would use my left hand for that. Come here. There you go. Have some left hand scritches. While right hand does mouse things. Also, don't rip the cable off my head. Or nose. Oh no. Okay, hold on. Alright, he jumped up, but I've got him wrestled under control again. Okay. This cannot be a 2, so it's either joining up with this or that. That is a fact. I do wonder about counting the space that remains here. 17 minus 433 is what? This is 14, 11, 7 is a 4 and a 3 extra we have to get on top of this, this, and this. Okay, this can't go straight up because this leaves a solo. Oh, how do I do this without breaking everything? That way round. We got there. 4, 4, 5, 3. Bricky, max 4, mismatch. Okay, so we start with a 1 here, which means that can't exist. So that must do that. And this can't be a 1, so that must do that. That can't be a line. So that must do that, which means that's a border because they can't share color. That line can't exist, so they must be together. That line can't exist, so they must be together. Maximum 4 means that this can't come up around that corner. But we can have as many 1s, 2s, and 3s as we like. All regions must have different shapes. So that means that we're working with 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s There's only 1, 1 and 1, 2 shape. There's 2, 3 shapes, and then all the tetrominoes. So this can't be a cross, right? This can't exist, which also means that this can't exist here, because that would make a 2, we'd have 2 2s. If this comes across, then that can be our 3, that can be our 2. Then we have to make up all the other pieces from what we have. Or that could be our 2, and that... Nope. Can't do that. So that's our 3, that's our 2. That has to be a long 4. And my gut is saying Z piece, T shape. Goose just fell off the sofa on me. But don't go with your gut, because your gut is wrong. So we've got a 3. This can't be a 3, that has to be a 4. That is correct, I believe. So we've got a 1, a 2, a straight 3, bent 4. That... Oh, Goose, stop using my mouse hand for your head scritches. This has to come up to here, because we can't have another 1. That has to go up to there. Hadn't coloured those in our previous route towards this solve yet. He's being very scampy. What did I click? Thank you. That's got to come to there. This can't be 3 straight, because we already have 3 straight. I'm then just wondering how we... Okay, we don't have a 3 crook yet. We also don't have 4 straight. There you go. Recognizing what we do and don't have. Anything hiding down here? There's you there, but you're a... No, you're not an annoying thinky one, but this shape bank is... Sure is something. Okay, these two... This part of the G, I think, has to have another part of the G concentered through it. Because if you filled it with 1s, you'd end up with a cross of things. The G is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, 18... 27 makes for 26, so we've got to have at least 2 of those. What does the negative space look like? That, but that can't hook over there. All right, brain, pattern recognition, work better. I wish I could just click this, drag the whole thing into the shape, into the puzzle, and just kind of do more with that. So this is what the shape is. For 2 of them to interlink, it's going to have to be at the widest points. It's close, but that breaks it there in the corner. So we can't bring the whole thing down, because then we have open space there. with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we can't do another one of these at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So where do we put the extra one? All the visualization that my brain currently does not have. I had a 4 straight line there. I could put 4 singles underneath it. That I kind of like. Then that would have to go to there and there with 1 over. Oh wait, you're not the right shape. Has to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that has to be 1 longer. And I can't move this whole thing up because that leaves 2 gaps along the bottom. I feel like this is one of those ones where if I don't see it in the first 30 seconds, I'm not going to see it for 30 minutes. That's that problem again. Like, I think there's only one way to put 2 of these pieces together, right? Which is this. So I just wish I could pick this up and slide it around until I figure out how it fits. You know? So if it comes down, then we end up with that corner there. This whole thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 4. So something that's 5 by 4. Can't exist on the horizontal side of all of this, can it? Because then we can't take the corner. I just don't see it, and I'm not going to see it if I don't see it. Come back with fresh eyes on that one, I think. Bricky and Polyominoes. Okay. This could be this or that, but that leaves that there, which is not allowed. So that starts there. Put a box around it. Okay. The tiles don't have to have singles in them. We can have symbolless tiles, such as that. This is either going to be this, or this, or this. It can't be this, because now this can't exist. So, it's either that, or that. Can't be this, because that would mean that exists. Put a box around it. Love putting a box around things. This can't... No, this can't exist because then I can't put this anywhere. So I think that's that, put a box around it. That can't go that way, because that can't exist. So that has to come up to here. Could not be that, but my instinct is to say this is going to exist, but we don't do instinct around here anymore. That can't exist, so that must. Could take that in that way. The only other way that can exist is this, but that can't do that. Therefore, I think that validates that hypothesis. That can reach there, but let's start with this because we now have that line. Can't be that because we can't do that. Could be this, except then we can't do that because we decided we had to start with this. So it looks like it's going to be that as our only option for this, which means those two join along there. That would be valid. The only way that that is valid, in fact. That can go there, that can go there. Does this work out? It does. Lovely. I love it when it works out. Right, we need another 15 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I can see, I think, around 16, and I need 15 of them, which is frightening. Let's see if we can squeeze in one more today. Let's try a 4 towards the end of the day. Okay. Bricky and area numbers. It doesn't feel like there should be that many ways that you can try and squeeze in all these 2s. You know? So, where do we begin? Because here's the thing, right? This 2 can either be there and then you go off and try and solve the puzzle, or it can be there and then you go off and try and solve the puzzle. But there's a unwise way to start proceedings, I think. If this does this, then that has to do that because we can't do this. This. And then that just leads to a long road of trying a bunch of stuff, learning it doesn't work, and then starting again, which I want to avoid. But right now I'm just trying to figure out what is my opening piece of logic on this puzzle. Like, if this goes here, that's not a problem. If that goes there, that doesn't seem like a problem. These kind of have some kind of axis existing through here, but not one that seems like a problem. It's 21, so somewhere in there, there's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, if we just do that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 extra tiles out there to be used. Is there ever a world? Okay, that can't exist there. We can't have that corner. I was just hypothesizing about if there was ever a world where you can make the 9 be one individual shape, but it seems like they would make that a rule if it was helpful. But we did decide that you can't do this, which is kind of helpful. So this can't go left. It could go left if it went that way. Yeah, this just gets worse before it gets better. I need an in. Can't have this, but we can have any one of those. And it gets really tricky in the fact that it's not all dominoes. Okay, this can't go up or across. This must go this way or this way, which means we know those lines exist. Because if this goes this way, then we end up on other stuff. So those lines existing is a nice actual in to the puzzle. It's the first thing that we can kind of decide is a definite without actually colouring anything in. So it's either going to be that way or that way. Which means this can't do this because then we end up with that. So I think that means we end up with this going on, which is kind of an interesting recursion going upwards. After that, there's all kinds of options, of course. And Goose is back again. He never just sits down and naps in here. He has to either be staring out the window, begging for my attention, or he just leaves. Right, what can we learn from here? These can't exist, so that can't go to the left. Which means that has to go down. Means that comes out. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. I think. There's no other super obvious concerns of four-liners. That can't do that. So that too must come down. That has to be an area, but can't join up with this too. Could be a 3. But that cross potential there means we can't have that exist. Then what? It's a great question. We can hypothetically have a 1 in the middle. You're coming left or down. Can be either. Because that could be a 2, that could be a 3. What's our next definite thing? If this comes down, this can't be a 1, which would result in this. We end up with that 2-corner thing. Okay, let's look at this 2. If it goes this way, it makes that line. If it goes this way, it makes that line, which is okay. If it goes that way, it makes... There you go. Figuring out that that was either going down or left, and then the bits of what remained in my brain, I'm very happy about it. All right, I think, again, I'm going to stop there rather than dragging it all out way too long and suffering way too much. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you're still here for the slightly shorter episodes, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.